Okay, let's talk about the hurdles. One of the biggest things you can do is find your hurdlers. With this junior set of hurdles, this costs $500, and the great thing is they're adjustable, and you don't need 10 hurdles. But to be able to put hurdles in a couple lanes, let's say 2 hurdles and 2 lanes, and put them both at 24 inches, and then have your entire team go over it. Maybe even turn this into a daily or weekly thing. I think hurdling is just an extremely athletic thing to do. And I would suggest, even with the record, rank, and publish idea, to run a 40-yard dash. Now, it's interesting. The men's hurdle marks are 15 yards and 25 yards. So you could run a 40-yard dash, start at the starting line, put a hurdle at the first blue mark and the second blue mark, and then put your free lap timer or stopwatch or whatever at the 40-yard mark, and just time a 40. But you're going over 2 barriers. Now, don't make this barrier, 39-inch hurdle. Instead, do it at a height that everybody can navigate. Now, girls, their hurdle marks are different. So if you want to know what that is, they are not in yards. It's weird that men's hurdles are in yards, but female hurdles are at 13 meters and 21.5 meters. Never run hurdle trials or, like, hey, let's see if you can hurdle at full height. I've seen that done before. Like, hey, freshman, come over here and run as fast as you can, jump over this 39-inch hurdle. It's just absolutely crazy. Really good hurdle coaches, even at the college level, do not jump over full height. I would suggest when you're trying to find your hurdlers to put it on grass. That if they do trip over one of these short hurdles, they fall and they roll in the grass and everybody laughs and it's fun. But if you're doing this on a hard surface, it's not so much fun to fall. And I think everybody should run these. And, why not record, rank, and publish the times, just like you do for 40 times or 10-meter fly times or whatever. But finding your hurdlers, just so important. We have a pretty good hurdle program in Plainfield North, and we typically have, on a good year, we have one good freshman, one good sophomore, one good junior, and one good senior. I wish we had 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, 2 juniors, and 2 seniors. And having, revisited this talk, I really think that I've done a poor job in developing our hurdlers. And hurdlers, by the way, that's really the sign of a healthy program, because any idiot track coach can have a fast kid or a kid that comes in that, hey man, that guy can run a mile really fast. But the events like the relays, the hurdles, the skill of block starts, long jump, triple jump, all those things, which we're not talking about today, those things really make you a good track program, because I call those the coached parts of track and field. I think you should always train over just 2 hurdles, just 2. If you think that somebody's fallen apart late in the hurdle race, it's because they've done something poor early in the race. Always train fast, never train tired. The idea that somehow we're going to work really hard in the hurdles instead of perform in the hurdles ever is just wrong, because if you're tired, you're not going to be getting to the first hurdle in 8 steps. And if that's the case, then you're screwed for the rest of your race. It's going to be real hard to 3-step, all those things. So always train fast, spiked up, never train tired. So let's talk about some other things. We already said we need to find them. I really believe that you should do anything you can to train with a 3-step between hurdles. No matter how much you have to discount the distance, you need to get people as soon as you can into a 3-step rhythm. We always discount height. We always discount distance. Now, these things, I've heard my son Alec talk about these issues constantly. I mean, they never go over full height. And I wondered if Alec was just had a rebel idea. And then, of course, Joey Woody speaks at TFC-IOWA, and he says the same thing. And he is probably he is the best hurdle coach in the world. And his hurdlers at Iowa are just amazing. And to think that they, like the college boys are not going over 42-inch hurdles. They're going over 39s in practice. And, the discount distance, the first hurdle is maybe 1 foot discounted. The second hurdle, 2 foot discounted. Now, if you want to see some hurdle drills, you can check out YouTube and check out Alex. It's been watched thousands and thousands of times. But low impact drills really don't make you a better hurdler necessarily. But you need to be able to do something with your hurdlers because you can't hurdle every day. It's just too brutal in terms of your shins, and keeping hurdlers healthy is not an easy thing. So you need something to do where you're not beating them up. We always think quality over quantity. Always, always, always. We never brag about how many hurdles we went over, ever. We spike up because we got to be fast. If you're not fast, you don't go 8 steps the first hurdle. You don't go 3 steps to the second hurdle. 90% of your time, it should be over hurdles 1 and 2. I know that Joey Woody showed some things where they're going over 5, but I think college kids are much more durable. They're not going to have the shin and ankle problems and knee problems that high school and middle school athletes have. So I think you really need to microdose quality hurdle work. Never hurdle when tired, of course. You come out of the blocks as soon as you can. My son Alec makes the case that if you are a youngster, maybe you should not be forced to get into the blocks. That it might be a healthier thing to be in an upright position to start. It's such an aggressive event. I just love it. But if you're thinking about going over the hurdle, you're going to be really slow. You just got to attack it, let it rip, reckless abandon. And that's how you get good. 8 steps to the first hurdle is common. 90% of all hurdlers are 8 steps. If you're going 9, you're going to be slow. If you're going 7, you're probably going to be reaching. So it's 8 steps to the first hurdle, and to do that, your lead leg. If you're going over, let's say right-legged, and your right leg is your lead leg going over the hurdles. If that's the case, that right leg needs to be back in the blocks. I don't care who you are, your lead leg has to be back in the blocks, or you're going to be 7 stepping to the hurdles or 9. So that's a really important thing. Your lead leg does not necessarily have to be your most coordinated leg. You should really spend a little bit of time to figure out which leg seems to be the better choice for the lead leg and the trail leg. You always lead with the knee. You don't ever lead with the foot. Aggressive hip position, I'll show you some pictures here in a second. The cut step, I'll show you a video here. You don't want to get too close to that first hurdle. The boys hurdle typically go over at 7 feet. So it seems like a long way, but remember, you're going really fast. If you're a good hurdler, you have to go fast, right? But 7 foot away, and the girls typically take off around 6 foot 6 inches. Tight arms, you don't want to be having your arms fly around. Young hurdlers will do this because they're using their arms to counterbalance. When they get off balance, they try to compensate with big arms. You want to be high hips. As you approach the hurdle, you want to get as high in the hips as possible. So this is Travis Anderson, the Illinois state record holder. It's kind of interesting that the 2 shortest races in Illinois, the 100 meters and the 110 hurdles. I coached the best 100-meter runner in the state of Illinois, Marcellus Moore, 10.31. And my son Alec was the hurdle coach of Travis Anderson, who ran the 110 highs in 13.59. So there must be something to the whole speed thing and feed the cats. The numbers down here on the bottom right, I should have fixed this slide. The 30-inch, and the next one's actually a 33. And then the one closest to us is actually 36 inches high. Remember, in high school hurdling, boys hurdles, 39 is the normal height. And here, the best hurdler that's ever run in Illinois is practicing on a 36. That's what we mean about discounting. A cut step is best defined in my mind as the opposite of a reach. Instead of reaching in that last step, you kind of stick your foot into the ground, which causes your hips to come forward into a very aggressive position. Now, notice he's pretty far away from this hurdle, but we can't see how fast he's going. So he is probably around 7 feet away from that hurdle, and that's normal for boys. At the far side, you see a 27-inch hurdle, and if you don't buy those junior hurdles, you can always tip over a hurdle, have it upside down, and use that as your lowest barrier. So this is a great slide because it shows what Alec can do with a group of kids. Maybe all of his freshmen are over there in the far lane, and maybe there's only 2 kids jumping on the 36-inch hurdle. So here's what happened if you don't have a good cut step. This guy's going to reach instead of cut. Here is the reach. See how that foot is out in front of his body? And because of that, he soars. He's in the air for a long time, and he's way too high. I'll show you that one more time. Reach, straight up in the air. All right, let's see Travis. Sees reach, cut. Totally different. Show you again. When I say he's reaching, he's not really reaching. He's really extending on each stride, just like a good sprinter will do. But he sticks his foot into the ground on that last step. Normal, cut. And he really flattens out. He doesn't go too high. Because he's not as high, he comes down in a much more balanced situation. Alex says, don't be a drill whore. What he means by this is that if you do drills, like the low impact drills every day, you'll never be a good hurdler. You have to have those reps in spikes, going over the first 2 hurdles. You time everything, you video everything, you cherish every rep because you can't do many. A typical hard workout for a hurdler is 4 times over 2 hurdles, each one videoed, each one spiked up, each one timing the first touchdown and the second touchdown. Never more than 3 hurdles. 2 is typical. Don't teach skimming, which means clear the damn hurdle. You're not trying to just barely get over it. And going back to the 3 hurdle thing, somebody's probably thinking right now, like, how about the 300s though? You have to go over, no. You do 2 or 3 hurdles. 2 is probably best. That if you can be fast and aggressive in the first couple hurdles, that will carry on to the rest of your race. And you say, how will they get in shape? Well, your 300 hurdler is probably going to be on your 4x4, right? Your 300 hurdler is a sprinter, so he's going to do lactate workouts. So it shouldn't be any problem at all. The same guy, Travis Anderson, not only was he state champ in the highs, but he was also state champ in the intermediates. And he never went over more than 2 in practice. He's a pure cat. No more than 3 sessions a week. And even this is high. If you have 2 meets, I don't know if you can do a hurdle session. Or you could do a hurdle session and not run your guy in every hurdle race and every meet. There's nothing that says that you have to win every meet. There's nothing that says you have to run your best guys in their main races in every meet. Don't fill a hurdler's head with minutia. This is how you coach any skill. In basketball, you don't tell a guy 9 things to think about when he shoots the ball. I mean, you let him shoot the ball, and then if you see something that might help him a little bit, you give him one thing. Let's think about one thing this time. This is one of the things that Alec does all the time, when he will video every rep And then the guys hurry over to see the video. And instead of him pointing out all the things they did wrong, he lets them talk. And when that happens, they start building their own house. And that's really, really important. Good picture here. I took it at our state meet several years ago. But I want you to look at the guys in the back, the red arrows. This is what I mean about leading with the knee. You want to lead with the knee. NCAA champ in 2012. And you see Andrew Riley here really having an aggressive hip position. Very aggressive. Two of my hurdlers here, Zion Mason and Niall Williams, and very, very aggressive. They're not like thinking about this and that. Their mind is just attack. Here's Travis Anderson, the state record holder, and you see the big split of his femurs. What happens here? Anytime you stretch a muscle, you get a stretch reflex, which means you get kind of a snap. And that elasticity, that snap, is really, really important. And by getting this big split here, there is a snap of the trail leg. It's not really a pull. Yeah, sure, he's pulling it too, but it will, that snap requires no, like muscle action. So it's quick. Oh, and by the way, if you overtrain athletes, they lose their elasticity first, and they don't jump as high, and their stretch reflex is not nearly as good. Here's another one of Alex's great hurdlers. This guy's playing for the Eagles now, Philadelphia Eagles, team captain last year. And you see toe out. This is important because this allows you don't ever clip the hurdle with a toe down. Another good picture of aggressive hip position. Remember, he's leaving the ground about 7 feet from that hurdle. And, I think this picture just really sums up that, probably the most important thing I can tell you. Don't practice hurdling when you're tired. That and discount height, discount distance. Find your hurdlers, get a whole pack of them, and then go over short ones until they can go over higher ones. And never put a hurdler into a race that he's not trained in. I did that one time. I had a great thrower who eventually went to Wake Forest and set every throws record at Wake Forest. And he was a good athlete, about 6'3", swimmer. And he asked me if he could run the intermediate hurdles. And I said, gee, I guess, go ahead. And it was a small meet. And he went over him. Everybody's laughing. I think he ran like a 46 or something. He ran pretty good, but he looked awful going over the hurdles. And his dad came over, and I'll never forget. He said, Coach Holler, never put my son into an event that he has not been trained to do. And instead of bowling up like most coaches, I'm like, you're right, I apologize. And I've never done that since. I will not put a freshman in the high hurdles until he can high hurdle. I will not put a thrower into a 300 hurdle event just to try it. These kids need to be trained before you stick them in a race.